This video is about eating disorders. It's a very sensitive topic, especially for me, but it's going to be mainly talking about bulimia, but yeah. I'm gonna look up the definition of eating disorders, then we're gonna go into some, and then we're going to talk about some experiences. So, an eating disorder is characterized as a serious, treatable mental illness by severe disturbances in eating behaviors, thoughts, and emotions regarding weight and body shape. I'm sure we all know what an eating disorder is if you click this, but it's very heavy. Some examples are anorexia, which is the fear of gaining weight, leading to restriction of eating, self-starvation, and a distorted body image. Next, we have bulimia, which is recurrent episodes of binge eating, followed by compensatory behaviors like purging, fasting, or excessive exercise. Then we have binge eating disorder, which is compulsive large volume eating accompanied by a large loss of control and distress without regular purging behaviors. Then we have avoidant restrictive food intake disorder, which is limiting food intake due to a lack of interest or sensitivity to sensory characteristics, but it's not based off body image. And finally, we have other specified feeding and eating disorders, which include disorders that aren't significant, that do cause significant distress but do not meet full criteria of any of the above ones. An example of this is atypical anorexia. Now that we got all the clinical stuff out of the way, let's talk. First, I just want to say that if you are struggling from any of these eating disorders, you're not alone. And there's so many help resources. Reaching out to someone human is obviously great. Like I mean by that, someone you know, someone you trust. But you can also always reach out to 988 or any other food helpline. 988 is the suicide helpline, but that's only if things get really bad and you really need someone to talk to, you know? But never be ashamed to do it. I would, and many people would rather have you here and talking to that hotline than somewhere else, you know? But these things are so hard, bulimia, food disorders. I personally struggle with bulimia, and I talked to it with my therapist too. And it's so hard. And it probably is so weird seeing me, a guy, talking about this to people, because it's mostly stereotyped as a feminine disorder, but any gender can be affected by it. In my experience, it's changed how people see me, and it's changed how I saw myself, more importantly. When I was younger, I struggled with weight, and I struggled a lot with body issues and self-confidence, you know. Weight wasn't the only reason I struggled with that stuff, but it definitely happened. And I was never obese, you know, but I was still chubby, and I wasn't athletic, and that made me really upset. I remember one day I was in the shower, and I looked down at my stomach and I said, "Oh God, I beg of you, please remove this from me. Please." And that, I still remember, I was like a young boy, you know, I shouldn't even be thinking about that, but I did. And it just sucked. And eventually I got into sports, not like like for school, but like just recreational. I did lose a few pounds. I'm young still, but I was young and it was easy, you know. I mean, I already had unhealthy eating habits, like eating like a bunch of Nutella pancakes and a bunch of just sugary food with no exercise, playing Roblox all day. That didn't help. But as I slowly swim down. I wouldn't eat at all, and I swim down significantly, but I think that stunted my growth a bit too. But I swim down a lot. And once I did swim down, I would always think to myself, oh no, but I don't want to get big again. And by this time it was like 8th grade, and I was skin and bone. I don't remember how tall I was, but I was about 98 to 100 pounds. And that was very unhealthy for me. I just knew I wasn't like 5 foot. I don't know. It was just very unhealthy for me. And after not eating a lot, I remember this, I would go home from school after not eating breakfast or lunch and open the cupboard and grab as many snacks as I could. I felt like such a glutton. I would grab all the Cheetos, all the chips, all the unopened bags of cookies and brownies, and gone. All of it was eaten within a period of like 5 minutes. I would go from 0 calories in the day to about like 4,000, 5,000 with all the snacks I was eating. Then I'd eat dinner too, and I'd sleep without exercising because I didn't have the energy to. And this went on for years. It started in like 8th grade, but it went. I mean, I'm a junior now, but it went on to like recently. And I would just I would wake up in the morning, not eat anything, not eat lunch in school. Then I would go home, rip open as many snacks as I could. I was starving, eat it all, sit in my bed because I was tired after eating, sleep, then eat dinner, then go to bed again, and then I'd wake up the next day and do the same thing. And it was so weird because my body would fluctuate so much too. My body weight would keep going up and down, and usually after about like a week of doing that, I would fast for about 2 days. So, okay, imagine a week of starve, and then I would fast to try to cancel it out, and that would be a zombie. Skeleton match scene, and it was so unhealthy, and it hurt so bad. And on those fast days, I would make sure that I would run a lot, and I would try to jump roping and try to do a little throwing up, which wasn't good. I mean, I would throw up usually like every like 2 days, and it sucked. I didn't have energy to do anything. And I felt like such a fatty because I would eat so much food and then I would just throw it up, and I don't know, I wasn't getting the nutrition I needed, I wasn't getting the things I need, and it was so scary. And then I realized this wasn't the way to live a long time ago, but in 10th grade, I believe, or it was 9th, I'm not 100% sure, I decided I want to get in the gym, I want to bulk. So I stopped doing the fasting part, and I would just start eating like the same amount of snacks, but I would eat breakfast and lunch on top of that, and I'd say I'd work out, but I'd do like 2 jumping jacks. I'm exaggerating, but like I would do a little workout, but I wouldn't push myself. So I got really big, like biggest I've ever been, and that sucked. Because at least when I was fasting or starving, I would stay swim. I just got big, and I hated myself for it. And that was some of the worst worst months of my life, and it sucked. Then I did some severe fasting, severe running, and I got back down, but I was most unhealthy I've ever been. And I looked pretty fit, not like boss fit, but like I was slim, so I didn't look like, but I was not eating, that's why. No energy to do anything. And I still thought I looked disgusting, I couldn't look myself in the mirror. I only ever took photos of myself when I was like day 2 into the fast, and it was so bad. But it also affected like how others saw me. One of my friends, God bless their heart, they've like recently I've been doing better, you know, and I've been tracking my calories, not like badly like the old days, but I've been tracking them to make sure I'm eating enough protein and make sure I'm eating enough. It's not like I scan it in and I put in my notes and whatever, but it's not like I'm eating so I want to not eat that much. It's because I want to have a baseline so I eat around the same amount every day. And one of my friends is like, "Don't you dare do that in front of me, don't you?" And it made me think. I don't want to be associated with some. I don't want to be some person who they have to parent. I don't want to be someone who they feel like they have to watch over because I might die. I want to be able to take care of myself. You know, there's such that I'm seen as that. I don't know. It is this whole. I wish I could live my life without worrying about the minute my jaw like goes in a little, or the minute I like notice a little more face fat, or like my stomach starts exploding. You know what I mean? I wish I could live without worrying about that. And it sucks that I do worry about that. And it's something that you can't explain to someone who doesn't think the same way, because you just sound crazy. But back to the point, it just sucked hearing that, like, hey, don't do that, don't do that. I thought you were doing better when I am doing better and I'm trying. But I just have such a bad reputation of it that they don't think so. I mean, even at lunch, one of my friends who I know is struggling. I love you, dude. I know you're gonna watch this, so I love you, and I know that you're struggling, so I care about you. But even in lunch, my friend didn't want to eat pizza, and everyone was like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna force you to eat it." And at least what I do is I text them after to make sure they're okay, because I'm not gonna make a spectacle around them. But they said to my friend, my friend who didn't want to eat the pizza was saying to everyone else, "Hey, look at me, look at Jeff. He's not eating. Why aren't you forcing him?" And they said, "Oh, he's a lost cause." That was funny, but like, damn, bro. You know, I'm a lost cause. That's not nice. I feel like people try to help sometimes by just saying eat, 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 but that won't help, you know. And if you force food down someone's throat who is struggling with an eating disorder, shame on you. They're just gonna throw that up anyway after. I know. So it's just not worth it. They need to help. They need to help themselves. And if you are struggling from eating, I want you to know that what you're feeling is valid. But you are beautiful the way you are. Your body is beautiful, and it deserves the nutrients. Don't even think about the fat or the things, or being too skinny or being too fat. Think about the nutrients. You deserve to feel energized. You deserve to have the energy to do things you like. And I get it. I get how the guilt after eating even a single bite of something, but you deserve to eat. I appreciate you. And you're not alone. Your feelings are so valid, but please eat. I'm trying to eat too.